Hey everyone, it's me, Aridas.com Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and zoologist. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate the links below, check my notes on Amazon. Quick message. If you are on a vacation and about to buy some souvenirs, and when you walk into the shop, either the manager or the owner of the shop looks at you with disgust, and they talk to you in a very rude and unpleasant manner, you may decide to buy a souvenir anyway because it's cheap and it's maybe the only shop where you can afford a souvenir, or you may decide you'll walk out of the shop immediately. Question: whether you buy something in the shop or just leave the shop is irrelevant. You will likely never ever go back to that shop. As a matter of fact, that encounter is a traumatic encounter. That trauma will haunt you. And because the trauma will haunt you, you either will avoid talking about it, but at some point you will confess to people that when you went on a vacation, like for example to Portugal or to Fiji or Mexico, whatever, or Brazil, you went to a place and there was this one shop, someone's quite rude towards you. If there's a website where you can leave reviews, you may leave a bad review for them. Or you may tell your friends and family, you know what, I wouldn't go to that shop over there because when I was there, oh my God, they were so rude and horrible towards me. Another thing, let's say back at home, you go to a supermarket and you buy some meat or you buy some vegetables, some ingredients for you to cook. And later, you hear on the news that the product you purchased at a supermarket is called back, though there's some viral bacteria in it. So now there's a risk that you may become sick. Will you ever go back to that same supermarket? If there's no other supermarket around, you may have no choice, but preferably, you wouldn't go back to the supermarket. Let's say you go to a restaurant. I don't care whether it's a 5-star restaurant or just a fast food restaurant. You eat there. You have a great time. Afterwards, you realize you got food poisoning. Would you ever go back to the restaurant? Hell no. You see, when it comes to specific events where we spend money, we are quite critical how we are treated or the results we get. If you purchase a product from a web shop and the service was bad and the quality of the product was bad too, you will be very critical of yourself even considering buying something again from that web shop. If someone borrowed money from you and they refuse to pay you back, well, you may not even want to be involved with that individual anymore. However, when it comes to our lives in general, we tend to stay in bad situations without any logical reason. Human beings are creatures of habit. We all develop habits. There's nothing wrong with having habits. However, habits have to be checked from time to time. If a habit of yours goes out of control, it will turn into an addiction or an obsession. It's normal and natural for us to have habits. Nevertheless, we need to check our habits. Too often, we human beings, both believers and unbelievers alike, we keep ourselves in bad situations for way too long. And it's only when things are becoming almost fatal that we realize, oh, something's off, we need to get out of here. Well, we should have realized earlier something is off. But because we were so acclimatized to whatever was going on, it didn't get through to us that wasn't a good idea. Now listen, when you check those cold cases of people that went missing a long time ago, and the case is still unsolved, or people that were murdered, and the case is still unsolved, whether the cold case is about a missing person or a homicide, but most missing person cases turn to homicide cases after a while. But anyway, whether it's just a missing person case still or a turn to an homicide case. When you notice those cold cases, when you see those cold cases, something you'll notice about them. The victim got snatched away. Something bad happened to the victim. That's obvious. Even if the victim left voluntarily, the fact they left voluntarily in such a hasty way shows that they were in trouble or was some type of scandal they got involved with and didn't know how to resolve, so they disappeared. Let me tell you, in all those cold cases, I don't care whether it's a cold case from Japan, Brazil, Mexico, Korea, Zimbabwe, Chad, Norway, I don't care where the cold case is from. There was always one thing the victim overlooked. There was always one thing the victim overlooked in their daily life. And that one thing they overlooked later haunted them and most likely became fatal to them. If we look at cases of women who were murdered by their partners, or men who were murdered by colleagues or friends or whatever, if you reflect on the case, look at the history of those people, both the perpetrator and the victim, especially if the murder is done by someone they knew, which it is in most cases, the victim should have left that friendship or that relationship or that marriage a long time ago. They were still involved with those people because they still naively thought things could get better. Now, things indeed could have become better. But just because there's a possibility that something may improve doesn't mean it will improve. There's a difference between probability and possibility. Possibility means can it happen? Probability is it likely to happen? So because these people looked at the possibility of things becoming better, instead of checking whether it was probable or not for things to become better, they ended up staying because they looked at the possibility. If they would have been more factual and realistic, they would have realized that there was a very low probability things would become better, and they would have left those relationships. They would have left those people alone, and they likely would either live longer or still be alive today. It's what they overlooked that came and haunted them and likely turned fatal on them. Now don't get me wrong. Human beings are not products you buy in a shop. Human beings are not meals you push in a restaurant. Okay? You can't just say, oh, I want this individual to be like this and they're not like this. So you know what? They're trash. I don't deal with them. You can't treat people like that. That's horrible and narcissistic. I don't advocate treating people like that either. Neither should you treat yourself like that. Neither should you treat yourself like a product. Human beings are different. Human beings, there's a dynamic. However, just like with products, meals, and also vehicles, we have requirements. And one requirement we all have is a requirement to be safe. If someone has a defect or deficiency that will jeopardize your safety in the long run, you should not be involved with this individual in any shape or form. If you're working there, change jobs. If you're married to them and they will not change for the better, you may have to consider divorce. I don't care if there are children involved. If the individual, one way or the other, will jeopardize your safety in the long run, you shouldn't be there. If you are living with them, their housemates, move out. If it's one of your parents, I don't care if it's your mommy or daddy. I don't care what's written in the Bible on your mother and father. Everything in the Bible has a context, and in this context, you need to get away from these people. You can't honor someone who's not honorable. Amen? That is the problem with a lot of believers, especially. They stay too long in situations, in relationships you should have left a long time ago. Look, there is one thing you should never overlook in another individual or in a group of people. Before I tell you what it is, understand we're all vulnerable creatures. And during this lifetime, our bodies are mortal. So there's some damage which your body can never recover. That whenever you get me, so because we have fragile bodies, life itself is vulnerable. We want security, we want certainty. Now, the only certainty and security you can get is from the Heavenly Father. The only guarantees in life will come from the Heavenly Father. You can't get guarantees anywhere else. Now, we all want to reduce risk. Risk is part of life. You cannot avoid all risk, only reduce risk. For example, the moment you enter your car to drive your car, there's a risk of you ending up in a car accident or some incident on the road. That risk is always there. Now, the public reduce the risk by agreeing to traffic rules and traffic regulations. And that's why you have police officers on the road give people tickets if they violate those traffic rules. Traffic rules are there to reduce the risk of bad incidents on the road. But do traffic rules automatically rule out any possibility of an incident or accident happening on the road? No, it can never. It can only reduce the likelihood of such things happening. You putting a lock on your bicycle will reduce the risk of it being stolen, but the possibility of being stolen is always there, even though it's less likely. Taking safety precautions for your house will reduce the likability, also the probability of it burning down. However, the possibility is always there, but you can reduce the risk of it. Thing is, risk is part of life. Wearing a seatbelt in a car, wearing a helmet when cycling, we should take safety precautions. Absolutely. It's common sense. We should take safety precautions. Just understand, safety precautions only reduce risks. They don't eliminate them 100%. So any human being that seeks to eliminate risk out of life, they're out of their mind. Because that does not exist. So when people are about reducing risk, that's healthy, that's natural, that's human, that's even biblical. But when people want to eliminate risk altogether, so when they want to be their own God, guaranteeing things for themselves, listen, only Heavenly Father can guarantee you'll wake up the next morning. Only Heavenly Father can guarantee that you'll be healthy, you'll be safe in the long run. So you have to comply and cooperate with Heavenly Father. But there are people out there, they want to be their own gods. They want to eliminate and avoid all risk. They're becoming controlling. That's delusional. And people like that, they may not act in a controlling way towards you in the beginning, but there are symptoms that they're about control. And people like that, first of all, their attitude is delusional because you can't eliminate risk out of life as a human being. That's not possible. You can only reduce risk. Secondly, when you're dealing with human beings and human relationships, you have to be flexible with people. You can't be rigid because we're not machines. Even with machines, you have to be flexible. Sometimes machines malfunction. So people like that are on the run. They're running away from their own humanity. How can you, a human being, run away from your own humanity and remain sane and safe to be around? You will not. So either people like that become seriously mentally ill and they need help. So in that case, you can't be too involved with them. Or they end up becoming monstrous, controlling, even violent towards other people. And let me tell you, that is the symptom in people you should never overlook. The moment a human being behaves in a controlling way, it can also be they're controlling about what others know about them. And they use the term privacy as an excuse. Listen, nobody in the right mind shares all their information with everybody. Nobody does that. So you should reduce risk by not sharing your address or your mobile phone number or your email address or details about your past with everyone. That's clear. That's obvious. That's common sense. On the other hand, You can't just be around other people and nobody knows anything about you. Especially relevant things will also affect them. If you have a criminal record and go to a barber shop to cut your hair, you don't have to reveal anything about the criminal record to them because A, it's not their concern, and thing is, you're the one with the criminal record, not them. Okay, but what if you live in a neighborhood and let's say your criminal record involves being involved with gangs and criminal groups? Those criminal groups you used to be part of haven't forgotten about you, so they may come after you one day. So, the neighborhood where you live may become a target because people are looking for you. So the people that live there, you don't have to go into detail about your criminal past, but they should know you were involved in crime, and you weren't always. But now that you have to show them you're a better human being today, but you have to be honest. You weren't always as good as you are today. So then, people are prepared that if one day weirdos walk around the neighborhoods, they may understand, they may have to deal with you, but they can warn you. You can both go to the police. You can solve it together. But what if you live in a neighborhood nobody knows anything about you, especially the fact that you have a criminal record relating to gangs and all of that? One day you have those weirdos showing up in your neighborhood looking for you, and you are in denial because you don't deal with those people. But guess what? Those weirdos are there, and now the people in the neighborhood are affected by your past. Now they were not part of your past. They were not the ones involved in the crime and in those gangs. You were. Nevertheless, because you are there and your past is haunting you, they are haunted and damaged too. They now become collateral damage. And if later people find out that it was your past that began to affect them, my God, will turn on you. What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that you have to go out there and tell your whole life story to everyone. Absolutely not. Don't do that. Just know people have a right to know what they're dealing with. And let me tell you, when people are way too secretive about themselves, they're way too quote-unquote private, if though privacy itself does not exist, only data protection exists. You can shoot off data from other people, that exists, but this whole thing called privacy, this magical space called privacy and personal space does not exist. It's not to be made up. Nevertheless, people were so-called private or quite secretive. That's being controlling. They want to control what you know about them, to control how you think and feel about them. Why? Because they know very well if you knew the full truth about them, you wouldn't want to deal with them. If you knew the full truth about them, what's haunting them, what we're involved in, if you knew how neglectful or wasteful they've been, and what they've put up with, you wouldn't want to deal with them. Or if you'd still deal with them, you'd be more cautious. So they want you to treat them as a fresh saint, or they want you to treat them in a very advantaged way that will benefit them. But the problem is, if you knew the truth about them, that wouldn't work. So they gave you a facade of who they are and expect you to get along with that facade. That's being controlling. I understand you don't just meet people, you don't just meet strangers and tell your whole life story to them. I'm not advocating you to do that. Nevertheless, if you're involved with people, or if you live somewhere, people have a right to know what you're dealing with. Okay, maybe your ex-partner tried to kill you, and it was very traumatic what happened. You don't have to tell your co-workers at the job this. You don't have to tell everyone in the neighborhood about it. You don't have to post on social media, because that may backfire on you. People think, oh, this woman just wants to seek attention or whatever, or this man just playing the victim. You don't have to tell people that, but you can let people know that you had bad experiences in relationships. Just letting people know that already, they can realize, they may not know exactly how bad your past experience was, but when it comes to sexual relationships, you had some bad experiences. Just allowing people to know that is sufficient. Then they know, this individual may have psychological triggers we need to consider. They have to be responsible too, but we can also be sensitive towards them. What I'm saying is it's healthy and practical to know what you're dealing with when it comes to other people. You don't have to know everything about them, but the most relevant and practical things you should know about them. When people are way too concealed, I'm telling you, they are hiding either failures of their past, or they're hiding some scandal they were involved in, or they're hiding some bad characters they used to have, or they still have those bad characters. So they're on the run. And them being on the run brings stress with it. That stress will bring unrest. And we will deal with unrest. They do, of course, because they're the ones on unrest, but it also affect you. But those people, because they don't want to own up to the fact that they're the ones fleeing, they will project unrest onto others. Maybe even onto you, and turn you into a target. Or even if they don't do that, the fact alone they're on the run, having all this unrest following them means that everyone around them will be damaged by it too. So when people are controlling, either in the best case scenario, they are mentally ill and they need therapy, but in the worst case scenario, and that's often the case, they're bad news. So when someone is bad news, either over time they face themselves and improve, or they don't improve, and in that case, you should divest from them and get away from them. Because controlling people, either they become the violent one, causing harm to you, or they will trigger violent situations where others get harmed. It's one of the two. Anyway, violence is the inevitable outcome when you're dealing with a controlling individual. When people are controlling, I'm not talking about people looking after you, asking questions because they want to manage the relationship with you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people actually being controlling. They don't have their way. They either ghost you, neglect you, or they turn on you, or they want to control how you talk and all of that. So, anyway, when people are controlling, I'm telling you, that is an alarm loud enough for you to walk away. You overlook that, it's going to be on you when you end up in a violent situation. Now, I'm not saying that if you overlook this and end up in a violent situation, that the other parties are not to blame. Of course, they are to blame. But the thing is, you can't see yourself as an actual full victim, because you took part of that bad situation by staying involved with this controlling individual. The fact the individual was controlling alone should have been a red flag for you to say, okay, I'm walking away. The fact you stayed with them being controlling means you consented to them being controlling. By consenting being controlling, you also consented to the dangerous outcomes out of it. So you're part of the bad situation that damaged you. But you're not that full victim that suddenly overtook you out of the blue. I'm not blaming the victim here. I'm saying if you decide to partake in a bad situation, you perpetrate a bad situation, and if the bad situation damaged you in the process, how can we call you a victim? If you're just walking down the street and a bad situation happens to you out of the blue, though to the fault of others, that's different. But you can't participate in a bad situation and when you end up damaged, act like it had nothing to do with you. Okay, I'm not approving others harming you or doing crimes against you, absolutely not. So technically, legally you are the victim, but overall, you're not the victim. You were a participant that got damaged. I'm not saying that adults cannot be victims. Of course, adults can become victims. Of course, adults can be victimized. However, as an adult, I've noticed that many fellow adults often stay in bad situations. And when they get damaged because of it, now they see themselves as a victim and all the others as perpetrators. And I'm saying, this is not the case. You should have left. Again, I'm not agreeing with the harm done to you. But what I'm not going to do is act like it just happened to you out of the blue. You were a baby, you couldn't do anything. They were wrong for what they did to you, absolutely. And they should be called to account and dealt for what they did. You have to be dealt with too for perpetrating this bad situation on yourself and others. That's justice, that's accountability. Accountability goes both ways. Anyway, if you go to a restaurant, you get food poisoning, you wouldn't want to go back. If you buy some food from a supermarket and later the food items were called back by the supermarket, though there's some danger, you wouldn't trust the supermarket anymore. Why then? do we keep ourselves in bad situations? What the heck are we doing? Let's repent from this idolatry and learn to trust Heavenly Father unconditionally. Because that's a problem, that we don't trust Heavenly Father 100%. We should trust Heavenly Father unconditionally because He is faithful and true. That's not blind trust, it's trust based on fact and reality. Heavenly Father is faithful and true. In society, a lot of us have blind trust to authority figures, whether it's your parents, whether it's the police, or whether it's the mayor, or the government in general, or whether it's experts. Now, you should trust someone's expertise, absolutely. But to fully just entrust everything to them, what the heck are you doing? You should never trust someone if there's no evidence or proof to back up their trustworthiness. But okay, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ, and I'll see you in my next live stream. Shalom.